My name is John van Schagen, I'm your host, and today I would like to talk to you about a very specific topic, an exponential shift. And that isn't simply just about scaling, because often it requires a very new way of looking at your business and the market it serves. We have invited two guests I would like you to introduce to Yves Dubois, a very Dutchy name. Yves, welcome over here, the co-founder of RTI Blockchain. We're soon going to find out what your company is doing and the problems you want to solve, of course. And we have Michiel Hogeboom, which is a Dutch name.
Exactly.
Michiel, you're playing a home match here at BMI, you're a business designer.
Yes.
And you've been quite busy as well because we have a bigger, cooler studio than we had before.
Exactly. If it should actually now look like high quality,
Absolutely.
professional surrounding that we're in. So it's a setup for success today.
Absolutely. So I would say to you, if you have any questions about today's topic, please don't hesitate and put them already in the chat. And during the final quarter of this session, we will certainly get back to that because we have a quarter question round over them. I think it will take us like between 40 to 60 minutes this session. Michiel, I would like to start with you. Today we talk about exponential shift. Why this topic? Why now?
Yeah, well, it's one of the 6 business model strategy shifts that we see happening, right?
Yeah.
And this one is really about solving big worldwide problems. And I think in a time like this is a business model that is so important and a strategy that's so important for the world because it's going to change the world and that's what we need. Yeah. But it's not one for everybody. It's one really for the brave. To start on this business model strategy.
Well, we have invited one of these
brave guys. Exactly.
And do we have like a certain definition for it?
Yeah, if we talk about this specific exponential shift, we define it as a business model strategy that leverages 2 or more exponential technologies.
Yeah.
And to really solving a grand problem for the many.
Yeah.
And in that sense, also challenging the assumptions within the industry that they're solving the problem in.
Yeah, and it's not just about 10% growth. It's actually about growing your company 10% faster.
Yeah.
Or even 10 times faster, I have to say.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a total different mindset.
Yeah, it's a different mindset, and we hope to learn more about this, of course, during this session. Do you have any examples of companies who already have achieved this?
Yeah, because you have to think about companies that by design do things differently, set up their business in a different way, get people involved in a different way. So when you think of companies like this, you quickly are with Elon Musk, right?
Yeah, sure.
So SpaceX, or you think about also Apple in Apple Health, what they do in health, the Apple Health Kit.
Yeah.
And Google, of course. From the beginning, they have designed themselves on an exponential business strategy. The one I do love the most myself is a smaller case, maybe, smaller company, but it's the Khan Academy.
From learning.
From learning,
yeah.
And it's in the space where they're solving a problem is, of course, in worldwide learning, democratizing learning for the many, setting out as a company, helping his nieces with tutoring via video call. Saw that there were a lot of friends also wanting to have it, so he put it on YouTube, which ended up in really a business and a school for the whole world to attend, free of charge. And in that sense, really also not the 10% growth, but really made the 10x. So what's the 10x in this case? Is that he is serving over 70 million registered students on his platform, over 36 languages available, and it's really not done by him, but by a lot of volunteers who take the language and take the materials and translate it for him. And then you also see that it's then a platform where in a month's time, 1.5 million people get knowledge from.
Gee.
So that's different from 10% growth, right?
Absolutely.
It's really,
these are very impressive numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Yves, is it your ambition to become the new Elon Musk or Mr. Khan?
Well, not specifically Elon Musk, I have to say.
No.
But yet their business models are, of course, they're great. They're doing great jobs. And Well, become the next Elon Musk in terms of business growth? Well, yes and no. First of all, we would like to solve a bigger problem within the logistics world. So that's our goal for sure.
Yeah, and you're using these exponential design principles for your company.
Yeah. Since you have to look totally different at the supply chain, and if you do it in the way that people do it right now and have been doing it until now, you won't solve the actual problem or actual issue. It will just put another blister on. Of what's going on. We try to do it differently.
During this session, of course, you're gonna tell us a bit more about your company. But first of all, what is the problem you're trying to solve?
Well, there's actually multiple problems. But if we look at supply chain, we can say and we see and we hear that one of the problems, of course, is quality of data, but also that has to do with trust in each other. Like if I ship something to you, I have a commercial relationship with you, we would like to see the shipment and the content of the shipment, but Michiel, for instance, is supplying you as well. I'm not allowed to see Michiel's data.
No.
So I have to be very keen on that. So that's some kind of trust. Next to that, we save quite some time and money based on the processes we supply.
And the name is RTI Blockchain. What does RTI stand for?
RTI stands for Returnable Transport Item.
Such as
pallets, crates, raw containers, also known as RPs, returnable packaging. Returnable packaging.
And we have a lot of them in the world,
Just look around you, wherever you are, whether you are at home or here in the office, anything you see has been shipped on a load carrier.
So one of the technologies that you use is blockchain. And I have to admit, people, I've read about it, I've listened to some podcasts about it, but for me, sometimes it's still abracadabra. Can you, because you brought something to explain the technology, please do so.
I will try. And I've seen it before, and then it's done with different products. But as you might see, I have here 3 cubes, right? And due to COVID, I'm going to hand them, but I'm going to do like these 3 cubes are belonging to Michiel. So I hand them to Michiel. And Michiel then sets on his place, he's going to ship one of these cubes to you, John, just like he's sending a physical product.
Thank you, Michiel.
And I ask you, Michiel, you just shipped an apple to John, right?
No, it was a cube.
Do you agree on that, John?
Absolutely.
It's a cube, and I'm the witness. I've seen it as well. So within blockchain technology, there's witnesses on shipments, therefore you cannot jeopardize what's going on. Next to this shipment, which is then confirmed by me as a witness, I cannot see the content of the shipment, but I see the hashes and I know it's going on. It's not just this physical shipment. There's a shipment being moved horizontally over different nodes, and vertically, every next shipment is linked to the previous shipment within the hashes that's taken in account. Therefore, it's undoable to break it down or get into it. So the technology makes it trustful.
Well, that was a fine tutorial, I guess. Thank you very much.
I hope you get it. Otherwise, bring this home and try it again.
Can we bring this at home as well for our kids?
Of course, those are yours.
Very nice.
And it's the same technology underlying the Bitcoin and all the currency in that sense.
Of course. That most of the time that's mistaken, and they say Bitcoin is blockchain.
No,
Bitcoin is using blockchain technology.
So now we know what an RTI is. We know what a blockchain does. Thank you for that. I would say your camera is over there. Can you tell us in like 7 to maximum of 10 minutes a little bit more about your company?
Yes, of course. Well, I have to start out first with introducing myself as Yves, one of the founders, but then get back to my co-founder, Milou Klooster. And actually it all started with her since she was working for a family-owned company, Visser Klooster, and she was facing issues with RTIs, with load carriers. And every time there came a new colleague, she tried to push the load carrier administration to the new colleague, but she got it back in return every time. By the end of 2018, or somewhere in 2018, she started thinking, I have to do this differently. She was going to look at competitors, but other industries and stuff like that, whether there was a solution like she had in mind, but there wasn't. And she still was looking. And back to Bitcoin, she also was trading in that back in time and trying something out with cryptos. And then at a certain point she thought, okay, if I can transfer coins, money digitally, why can't I do that with crates, pallets, and raw containers? But she had a hard time to bring it over to people she knew. So she made a visual of that, and she was trying to look at whether it exists. Then she bumped into my profile, and I was organizing back then a team breakfast at Evo Venedex. She invited herself, and that actually was, she came there just to look what kind of person I was. I was invited to come over to Enkhuizen afterwards. Actually kind of pitful. We tried to look at their challenges and we started talking about this idea.
Yeah, beautiful Dutch city, Enkhuizen.
It is.
There are numbers of times.
You have to go there. You have to go there and visit and eat some fish, of course.
Absolutely.
But then again, we started talking. We got more and more enthusiastic about the ideas. And I had my own company, self-employed. She was the 5th generation of the family-owned company. It was taken over from her father. What we took the time was all before COVID. So Christmas dinners were with huge groups. So nowadays it would be a bit more easy. But back then you want to save the family atmosphere, of course. But we quitted both our jobs and businesses and started RTI Blockchain. So that's actually what we started to do. We had lots of Excel, lots of Word, lots of PowerPoint, and we're starting our own business. Started out with trying out what could happen. Lots of interviews with different supply chain partners. And then we started working on the first prototyping. And the first prototyping was all about technology. Since in the name, we haven't shifted that name. Ever since the very first beginning, it was named RTI Blockchain. We needed, of course, some way to apply blockchain technology, yet we didn't know whether it was going to work out. We found out that it was actually pretty successful to do so.
Yeah.
So as from then, we had technology, we had an idea, and we started to look for customers, potential customers.
Yeah.
And we did some small pilots trying to gain feedback on what we were doing and stuff like that. And that came in a roller coaster, actually. From the very first PowerPoint, they said, please come back if you have something more. But once we had something more, they were really enthusiastic and they wanted to have even more and more and more and more. So the real problem we solve actually that every nowadays, if a shipment is done, there's also this paper, a CMR, a BOL, of any kind of freight note which states what product and what load carrier is shipped from me to you, for instance.
Yeah.
But on the shipment note, there is listed, for instance, 10 pallets. On your side, you receive the shipment note, or freight note, and it's going to the administrative department, and they read the note and they see this 1 for a 7. So 70 pieces is administrated. Over time, we're going to do some balance settlement. You from your ERP or whatever system going to send your information to me, and I'm going to send my information to you because we noticed there's a difference. It's so many transactions, it's so time consuming, and everyone is taking the paper printed and trying to sort out the differences. A never-ending process, and you won't find the difference at all. So it ends up like this, and we proceed.
Yeah.
In our case, that's not possible. Since if I ship something to you, you see the exact same information. You see the exact 10 pieces of pallets being shipped. So you will receive 10 pallets. You can argue it, since it could be 9 or 11, but there won't be an administrative difference based on paper usage. Yeah. So that's the first thing. And then it's also pretty similar and aligned with internet banking. So we all use internet banking technology. We all know what to do. We see our bank amount. We see the amount written off and written to. Well, of course, the bank amount could be a bit higher, but that's of course normal. But we don't have any questions about the amounts. So that's actually what we solve. The type of customers is basically anything within supply chain B2B using our RTIs, returnable transport items, and being shipped forward and backward.
Yeah, and which parties can you name some? Source of?
Yeah, well, of course, in hospitality, in AGF, so in food, vegetables, production industry, and well, we started out, but we'll come back to that a little later.
Yeah.
Within the Netherlands, but it's actually basically anywhere.
All right, cool. And Michiel, you've been doing your homework because you've designed a graphic for RTI Blockchain.
Exactly, yeah, and it's maybe interesting to also show it
absolutely.
to the viewers, and then also explain a little bit on the background of the story that Yves told. So if you look at the drawing, you see at the top end, you see the items that can be used for the returnable items that can be used, and as you see, it's being shipped all over the world, different ways of shipping by truck, by ships, and you also then see that there is a station where all the different players within the channel, logistic partners, are in the same room. So they're viewing the same information. Yeah. And with that same information, they can change their value chain. They can make it shorter. They can make it even less CO2. They can do things in packaging in different ways, bringing different things, so they get the platform and the information all at the same time.
So it's much more effective.
Exactly, and then below we drawn the different parts that then is being used from the technology perspective. So you see that there's the blockchain represented, but also artificial intelligence, business intelligence kind of software that's below. But we draw it below the surface, as Yves was explaining. For the users, that's not interesting. The users need a very clean kind of overview, and that's what they get presented. And below, there's a lot of technology, but we keep it below the hood.
Yeah. It's a fascinating graphic, and I've seen you done it before. But is this just for fun, or does it also has a deeper purpose?
For us, it's about, in one view, if you cannot draw it, you cannot explain it, and it will not be a model that's there. So for us, it's really important to make it the visual. And then also, I think, Yves, did you use it many times before, or is it somewhere back in the?
No, actually, it's printed pretty big and hanging at the office, of course, and it's used in every presentation. I fully agree with Michiel. If you can't capture it in one image, it's a bit of a strange story.
Yeah, right. Well, that's a good advice. And if we've been listening to the story of Yves, and it seems that this company is trying to solve a huge problem. And we've talked about that, Michiel.
Yeah.
Is that also some of the basic ingredients of having a successful exponential shift?
Yeah, I think the exponential shift is powered by a very big drive to solve a wicked problem that others say in your industry, no, it's not going to happen. Yeah. If you talked about the blockchain, as you said as well, in that sense, and giving an insight to all parties in the value chain, you would have been laughed at. I think in the beginning, the distrust between the different parties is so big. So this drive is crucial, because it's getting your hands on something, they will get dirty. So that drive and that ambition is crucial on any exponential
and what actually is then a huge problem?
Yeah, so defining huge problems, so if you look also from the Singularity University perspective, you can capture them in different areas. So one area where we as a world have a big problem is in food related. Another area is the area of energy. So we are in an energy transition. We know that how we currently do it is not sustainable. So we need solutions there. Another area is the area of learning, where I tipped in on Kaan. We have a big part of the world that's getting great education, but a larger part not. And the last one is one of Elon, is space, and being able to travel and transport us even faster. Yeah. And I think the interesting thing in this case, underlying, there are all in that part value chains that need to exchange information to go after these ones. So that's also the connection to Yves, right?
Yeah. And Yves, you have been developing this, but I can imagine all these different parties, they've been using their own methods for many years.
Yep,
and,
so true.
Yeah, and for using RTI blockchain, does the whole supply chain have to, swap at once at RTI blockchain? Because that seems like a tough challenge.
Well, actually, it's an undoable challenge.
Yeah, I guess so.
Well, that's also the main questions people have in their mind. But yes and no. If you want to take best advantage of the solution of the platform, you and your supply chain partners should participate. Yes, I fully agree. But then again, like you stated, it's not going to be implemented like a big bang. Of course, we hope so, but it's not going to happen. No. Therefore, you can maintain your administration solely yourself without interaction with your supply chain partners. Of course, it's not the best solution, but you can, and therefore you have already a trusted situation for yourself.
Finding the first movers, right?
Yeah, of course, and they can then invite other people to look along, and you could also create a dummy location, dummy customer, and once they do the registration themselves, the system says, hey, is this you? And they can get the data towards their system.
We already have a question, and I'm not gonna keep it for the final quarter, because it's about your company. It's from Tim, and he says, how much effort is it to switch to RTI, because it's linked to all kinds of administration systems?
Yeah, well, depends a bit. Let's say the onboarding time for the application is 15 to 30 minutes. Yeah. Because of the fact it's similar to internet banking applications. We're all familiar with that, it's that easy. Technology shift, if you do it manually, it's within these 15 to 30 minutes. But business-wise, it's not going to be manually, so you're going to use the API. We now have examples that the API was up and running in 3 hours. So let's say you're unlucky, a bit more struggling, we would have had it up and running in a week. All right, altogether. Oh, so pretty quick, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so.
And then again, you don't have to do any installation.
That's important as well. That's important as well.
Yeah, and I think it's also technology that's stepping in, and as Tim is stating, it's stepping in, if I understood correctly, right, to the existing systems.
Yeah, true. And what you see normally within the companies, IT departments are pretty busy. They have not too much time to have another project put into their calendar. But you can use the platform without integration, therefore solely, and start out. And if you have the business proof that it's actually helping you, it's also more easy to gain IT capacity.
Let's take a closer look now at the design principles of an exponential shift. Because right from the start, you've been thinking very, very big. Do you have some examples of that?
Well, the very first meeting in Enkhuizen, once Michiel and I met, it was like, we're going to take over the world. It's going to be
world domination.
And then we started to land a bit with the feet on the ground and something, okay, let's first start with the company, we need to this and that.
Yeah.
And from closet paper to the development and everything needs to be taken care of. But what you see if you start thinking locally or within the Netherlands, which could be seen locally for world, you don't get there, since a pallet or a raw container doesn't end at the border. It's just being shipped forward to whatever destination and it comes back. So if you think about systems, you also need to think there is no country, there is no such thing as time. It's always there, it's always present.
Yeah.
And that ensures that you at least have to think of it.
So you have developed like the mobile app in how many languages?
13, I believe now.
13
and ongoing.
Yeah. Yep. And what about the volume? Because we've talked about that as well.
Yeah.
That's big as well, eh?
Well, that was at first it was a big laugh since we started thinking of how are we going to do this. And if you look at blockchain technology, of course it's very trusted, but also could also be heavy. And if you put too much information to blockchain, it's going to slow down the system. And what an end user of the mobile app doesn't want is to wait for the shipment to be saved. You want to see it instantly.
Absolutely.
So that was a challenge. So we stated we needed to be able to capture the volume of, for instance, MasterCard.
All right, MasterCard.
MasterCard, yeah.
That is a very, very, very big company.
It is, and they have very, very.
What were the reactions when you said that?
Well, first
this guy is nuts.
Well, first they started laughing, but then, yes, they did. But then again, they started thinking, and I started explaining, like anything you see around you has been shipped on a load carrier. And it's not just within Amsterdam, where we're now, but it's all over the world.
Yeah.
So once it's being adopted and people are starting to use it, it's going to go like exponential business models. It's going to go like this. You don't want to bump into IT issues at a very early stage. Yeah. And we always said once we exceed this amount of shipments like MasterCard can process, then we first unbottle a bottle of champagne with each other, with all participants, and then we're going to solve this issue directly.
Yeah, but he needs the guts to do so.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's very, very important.
That's in this kind of changes that you want to create in an industry, that's crucial. And also thinking in that way, because otherwise you make it too small and you will go through only the local ones and you're not solving it.
Yeah, it's also a pitfall.
Yeah.
You want to, if you're working on the product itself and you're working towards deployment, a new version of the software as is, you also want to pinpoint on specific features and stuff like that. And of course, those are important. They should be available and should work properly. Yeah. And then again, you need to have the bigger picture in mind continuously.
Yeah. But how do you finance this? Because
well, the first, as we started, it was own money and time, of course. Yeah. And we took some spare time of ourselves and of the families. Sorry. But back then, of course, that's not enough. You're not going to get there. We started talking with the RVO, the Dutch government. We got a vroege fase financiering, proper Dutch. And
early stage financing.
Early stage financing, thank you. And then again, of course, that needs to be backed up, or at least they ask for it to back up for an investor. And we luckily found an investor with roots in retail.
Yeah, and also geographically, it's in Ondijk, I guess, because he's the guy who lives in your neighborhood or so, something like that.
Well, actually,
you've known each other.
No, not before actually.
Okay,
no, not before. Well, that's also a nice question. We were told we needed to be investor ready.
Yeah.
Well, tell me what's investor ready, and you and I were a bit like, okay. But we started talking with someone, and we tried from the very first nitty-gritty details where we started out, and we took them along with the journey we were taking. Yeah. And at a certain point, after a few sessions, the question came along, okay, maybe it's something for you.
All right, I see. So let's now take a deep dive in the business model of RTI Blockchain, Michiel. Yeah. Because I would really, really like to learn why this is so exponential. Yeah. I think we have a new graphic, a business model canvas. Yeah. Please, can you tell me and also the viewers, of course, what are we looking at?
Yeah, so you're looking at the business model canvas, right? 9 building blocks. explaining how a business is working.
Yes, the key partners, the key activities, the key resources, value propositions, customer relations, channels, customer segments, cost structure, and revenue streams. I thought let's mention them.
Yes, exactly. That's good to do. And the thing here is, so we've looked at a lot of exponential models and then see, hey, what are elements that we see coming back in every of those models? So we capture them in this canvas that we see over here. Not going after all the parts, but
which of these elements really are making it,
for RTI Blockchain. Yeah. So I think the masses. So it's a worldwide problem that we see coming up. A serious problem that has the many to solve it for. Then also in the center, the value proposition is really about information-based offering. So also the different partners in the supply chain get a different piece of the information that is for their needs specifically.
Yeah.
Because of the trust Yves was talking about, the blockchain enables it to only serve the information that's relevant for them. Competitors cannot be given the information of what our competitors are serving to via the RTI. So that's very important, in the center. And that's what we also see strongly represented in the RTI part. The other element, of course, is the two or more exponential technologies. So on the one part, the blockchain. On the other one, technology is around business BI. Business information, making sense of everything that's coming in and being able to present it. And also the one of the partners in this sense as well. You need to have partners pulling this off. So on the one hand, it's branch organizations, really also giving the platform to tell your story and connect you. On the other hand, it's also about technology, and as Yves stated, they're not doing everything in-house. They wanted to be accessible to the latest technology, so they have strong technology partners pushing that last technology towards them.
Yeah.
So I think it's very interesting that you guys also started out at the TU Delft in kind of an accelerator, also making those connections. So that's also very strongly represented here.
Can I?
Yeah, please.
That's, I think, basically one of the most important things to get the job done. Because if you get some of the believers can be companies, but can also be persons, and those persons have the network as well.
Yeah.
Their network can work exponentially for me, for our company as well. So if you can get access to those people, and they're willing to tell your story to their network, then it's covered.
Yeah, and actually that's also covered, and for me that's also so much in this business model is the community of fans.
Yeah.
So in the relationship building out, and that is being done by telling the story over and over again on different places, and make it very easy and accessible, as we earlier stated, in the way people can get it. It's like a banking app.
Yeah.
Nobody thinks about it, and that's actually the same way in this. And the first initial conversations were, it should be so simple to do this.
Yeah.
Because if somebody gets, hey, this is interesting to do, then within 15 minutes, you have your first time up and running time. So that's very important.
Yeah. Well, we'll get back to that certainly, because we have also a graphic of that. How many sales pitches have you been doing like the last 12 months?
Well, started out slowly, but now it's multiple day.
And what is the question everybody asks you?
Well, basically we touched it already a bit.
Yeah.
There's this anxious that my whole network needs to join instantly. But we covered that from the very first beginning, since we knew that that's not going to happen.
Yeah. We haven't been talking about the revenues, the revenue model.
Yeah.
What can you say about that?
Well, that's also a bit different compared to traditional business.
Yeah.
Well, let's start by saying what we not charge. We don't charge any maintenance fee. We don't charge any license fee. We don't charge a fee per user or extra users. We only charge based on the pay per use model, a fee per item being shipped.
Yeah.
And it's only the outbound shipment. So receiving inbound shipments are free of charge.
Yeah. And can this also be a threat for potential customers? Because I can imagine once they've become dependent on you, you can, raise the prices.
Well, we could, but yes, we won't. Since if we raise the prices now, we will push back the adoption for the platform. So there's no need for us to raise the prices.
And you don't have a license model.
No.
Is it something maybe investors get a bit scared of because there is no recurring revenue?
Well, normally, if you talk about investor readiness and stuff like that, yes, you need a license model, you need the signatures, and then it's getting more interesting for them. But in the case, it was totally not aligned with what we wanted to do. We wanted to have it so simple and so ready for everyone. But therefore, you're not bound to anything. You can start now, you can stop now.
Yeah.
There's no subscription.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think from that perspective, we talked a lot about it as well, but it's really about scaling, right? In that sense also, and having the skill, then it becomes an interesting model.
And we also wanted that the investment on using the platform was not the reason not to start. So therefore, we only charge 0.0005 euros an item.
Yeah.
And it's easy to calculate. If your business is growing, you have a bit more cost to the platform, but if your business is slow or down due to COVID, for instance, there is no cost at all.
Yeah, I can imagine. We have a new question, and I don't wait with the questions because we've seen here now Thomas. Thomas wants to know, how did you find the right people to execute the idea on the technology side?
Yeah. Well, that's
interesting stuff. Yeah. We have some cool discussions about it.
Where did the magic sauce come from?
Yeah.
How did we do that? Well, actually, we started out, like Michiel stated, with an accelerator program linked to the Yes Delft company, and we started talking to one of the mentors. And that mentor was linked to a company based in Rotterdam, Blocklab, so to say. And with him, we started talking about what we were willing to do, but he also was capable of pushing us a bit forward in the technology part. That was the first step, and we even know from the very first beginning that it was only for back-end POC kind of stuff. And from that journey, we started looking further to other tech partners. And we just did our job and go and find it.
Yeah.
What I find very interesting from this perspective, and we had good, solid discussions in the beginning about it when they started out. Hey, technology is part of your, as we say it, of your key resources in your model. Should that not be owned?
Yeah.
And it was very interesting. He said, yeah, but I'm not going fast enough. And I think that's also part of the answer.
Yeah.
You need people for a certain amount of time, but it's going so fast, these kind of developments. So in the end, it really Yves said, yeah, but I want to do it in this way. And we now see that we're able to go faster. But then I think the partnership and signing up for the partnership and having good agreements also with your partners on which stage that you're going to use them is very important. You did it in an excellent job.
We need with speed and focus.
Yeah.
Because we definitely need our focus on the business.
Was that also a pitfall for you, the focus?
No, actually no.
Okay.
No. It could have been a pitfall if we'd done the technology development in-house.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, then it would definitely be a pitfall.
Yeah, and so Michiel, your team is actually helping Yves with developing also new revenue models. And I guess we have a new graphic.
Yeah.
What can you tell us about this visual?
Yeah, so it's about, and it's very simplistic, right?
Yeah.
So we love that. It's going forward. It's minimalistic. It's minimalistic in that sense. So it's about, in this sense, it's about adding exponential technologies going forward. But also placing them in time. And it's not said that you guys not doing anything with AI at the moment or with tokenization of it, but placing it in time and see what kind of problems you can solve with it. So if you take a step towards the future with AI, the users of the platform can really start solving empty freight loads.
Yeah,
for instance,
with the information that they're getting. If we even look further into tokenization with the tokens, like an own kind of Bitcoin, you could speed up even processes in that sense, but also have people to give them more tokens if they do local to local shippings instead of long distance shippings. So in that sense, you can also bring behavior towards the good and get less CO2.
Yeah,
definitely.
So that's kind of a direction, and the team of Yves is looking into those areas. Yeah. But of course, the platform is about trust. Yep. So it's about sharing and setting it up together with the users of the platform.
Well, and then again, tokenization is now put as last in this example, in this image, but then again, we're working already on it. So if you look at certain loyalty programs we're working on, and that's loyalty programs for our customers to apply for their customers to get better onboarding and better training of the load carriers.
Yeah.
But it also could be applied based on the deposit fees which are being charged regularly on shipments. If I ship 10 crates, I'm also sending you an invoice for the value of those 10 crates.
Yeah.
But what if we can skip those invoicing process? There's no administrative department anymore working on these invoices and credit invoices.
So you already have been working on that.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So you're watching BMI Inspires. My name is Yves, and today's topic: learn everything about exponential business models based on the story of RTI Blockchain. We have two guests, Yves Dubois of RTI Blockchain, the co-founder, and Michiel Hogenboom, he's from BMI. We have some new questions. Let me see. Michiel, what has been the risk in this success story and how has these been mitigated?
Yeah.
Do I say that correctly?
Mitigated, yeah.
Mitigated, all right.
Exactly.
Well, there is a risk at any time, basically. But it start out with believing in your own story. We're going to change something within this world, and you need to dream that and live that on and on and on and on, day by day by day and every night. And once you do that, and you start visualizing what's going on, and you can capture it, for instance, in this image, like Michiel showed to you, then it's starting to live, and then the risk is mitigated because people see what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
And then the next risk to mitigate is that there's no license fee subscription investment needed from the supply chain themselves. Just start and stop whenever you want.
Yeah, okay, that's cool. Roel also has a question. What's the relationship Ledger Leopard? I think with Ledger Leopard.
Yeah. Well, Ledger Leopard is our tech partner.
Yeah.
That's the basic.
All right.
And now I told you a bit like it's bit from a distance now. We're married. Of course, there's.
Of course.
No, but that's a very intense relationship, and that's going really good.
All right.
That's
great.
Yeah.
All right. I think we have another graphic we'd like to show you. When you were designing the application, you wanted to be as simple as possible. We've already talked about it. Let's take a closer look. Well, what can you tell us about this? This simplicity, how do I notice this as a user?
Yeah, well, at first, once we started with the application, and of course the mobile app, like we stated, it needs to be a bit like internet banking apps.
Yeah.
Why? Every one of us uses it. You have downloaded it, and it just works. There is no consultant coming over to do the implementation, configuration, or update. So therefore, it's simple and easy to use. But also in terms of the tutorials, if a driver, for instance, from a transport agency is on the road, he knows how to handle it. From the very first beginning, we took captures of our own internet banking apps, and we tried to change it towards what we needed.
Yeah.
So therefore, you actually see simplicity. But it's not just in the mobile app; it's also in the web application, of course.
Yeah.
And we really look at models which are used by every one of us.
Yeah.
Think of the use of web shops. How do you click around it? What do you use? Where do you find it? Where do you expect something to be? But also websites like Funda. If you go and look for a new house, you know how to work. You work with slide bars from prices and stuff like that. But also more convenient like Tiki, mostly used in the Netherlands, of course.
Yeah.
We have the same kind of functionality. It's called with us. It's called a request. I want something in return for you, so I send you a request.
Yeah. So you've been examining all these popular apps.
Yeah.
And using the best parts for your own app.
Yeah, but also very close look at the financial administration stuff.
I find it. And I find it very interesting. I think this is also one of the elements where we see this is about scaling, right?
Yeah.
An exponential business model is first about scaling, then about profit. So scaling needs simplicity and needs people to instantly fall in love.
But at the same time, it's one of the hardest things to do. So is it?
Yeah. So I think this is one of the
simple as possible.
So I think that's one of the elements. What's showing the success is having the focus on the simplicity and also Yves pushing back on complexity.
Yeah.
So we tried, and that's also the drawing that we showed earlier. We really tried. Yves and the company is really trying to keep the technology below the hood.
Yeah.
There is where success is for the end customer.
Can you name, Yves, some of the mistakes you have been making, that you made during the last 2 years?
Well, one of the mistakes was not starting this earlier.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
We would have been a bit further.
That's a nice one.
What is one of the mistakes we've been making? That's a hard one. Maybe we've been a bit too patient at the beginning, at the very first conversation we had with potential users and customers.
All right.
bit too much listening, a bit too less pushy. Go and start, go and find out.
Yeah,
that's maybe one of the mistakes.
All right, because where are you at this moment? You already have some customers?
Yes, of course.
You have some pilots going on?
Both pilots, POCs, test phase, but also live customers, of course.
Yeah.
It started out with first customers in September last year, using only the web application. Mobile app wasn't even ready then. Yeah. Mobile app started this January. Now we have users and customers within the Netherlands, Belgium, Germany. Now moving towards Nordics, France, Spain, US.
And what is the best feedback they have been giving you?
Well, the best feedback was also pitfall. It's too good to be true.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's
the catch?
What's the catch?
Yeah.
What do I don't see? And that's also sometimes hard to explain what we're doing.
Yeah. And of course, because during this session we talk about exponential shift. What's your goal within like 3 to 5 years?
Well, together with BMI, with Michiel and Dan and Patrick, we started talking about the goals for 2025. Internally, we already shifted it to 2024.
Yeah.
Let's say we want to be a world market leader. We want to ensure that everyone who works with RTI and RTI registration first thinks of RTI blockchain and product RTI dashboard.
Yeah.
That's the goal.
Yeah.
And then change the world a bit and make it even more simple.
Yeah. And you guys, you are helping him.
Yes.
What do you have some examples? What does it take?
Yeah, for his company, the way how we work together, right?
Yeah.
The way how we work together. So I think that from that perspective, we have been sparring from the early beginnings.
Yep.
So I met them before they started, and they showed their first drawings to me, and I was like, So and that what also the discussions, where's your prototype, and you need technology in house, and they were
thinking, who is this guy?
They were very stubborn,
Yeah.
but they keep coming back, and I found it very interesting. Every time they came back, they got another element, and they also listened a little bit, but they took their own take on it.
All right.
So
but they did their homework.
They did their homework, and then came back with another add-on. But you saw that they were listening, but very stubborn. So we liked that. And then there came a point where he also came around and said, "Well, we want to formalize, and we need more support. So can you step in more?" And we said, "Okay, well, let's make a real project out of it." So we stepped in. Together with the investors, and we just made a sanity check, starting with the vision, seeing where the vision, so that was what Yves talking about towards 2025, looking at the value propositions they were currently having and running, the business model, and then also what kind of an operating model should be underneath that part. So we had the discussions on that. Boiling it down also to the price strategy. That was one of the points that we really needed to tackle. Yeah. And then of course the growth strategy. And I think there is the part where we challenge them the most, and to go even faster. Yeah. Not listening too much, not piloting in that sense. Speed up. Speed is the most important one in this kind of models.
Speed, but yet it needs to be working. Yeah. It needs to be trusted.
Yeah.
No mistakes.
So that's
what was also interesting was that indeed we started talking with you, so Milu and I and the investors, but it's not just us, it's also the team. So we also got here with Michiel and Dan and colleagues from BMI to inspire and discuss with the team, since it's not just us, it's the company who needs to
I think that's
what we're doing.
And I think that's one of the cool elements in your company as well. So setting it up and designing it in a way that is different, but then also have the people that you're onboarding in a rapid pace can immediately know, okay, this is what we're doing, this is where I should work on, and this actually is where I should not lose myself. So giving the right focus that they naturally have as founders, also inject that within the team.
Onboarding time for the app should be the same for the team.
Yeah, okay, that's cool. Because you have some experience with incubators as well.
Yep.
Yeah, and what's the difference between working like in an incubator kind of session and BMI right now?
Well, for us, it's just the next step in our life cycle, and it just fits perfectly within the. Well, I have to say, with the first incubator we started, it was also new for Milu and I to work together since we. So it was also for the first 10 weeks we were heavily working together, and okay, do we still like each other? Can we do this, or is it? But every day it got better and better and better, and still does. So that really helped us by working on our business model and working on ourselves as a team. Yeah. So that was really good. And of course, having peers, having the same kind of
Yeah. So this is actually the next step. And then, Michiel, we know BMI from consulting, but that's actually not the only way that you assist entrepreneurs these days. You also participate.
Yeah. So small bit of venturing, same as with Yves and the team. Yeah, and we see that that's interesting for us to disrupt ourselves, right? We need to keep disrupting. So we broke with hourly rates, also with output based already. And this for us is a next step. And especially with guys like this, they want skin in the game and also feel that you really understand what they are doing. And with the speed we are doing and taking, we are investigating in this area.
So you just mentioned speed a couple of times. What are the other key activities when it comes to an exponential shift?
So it's really about setting the right focus as well. So the speed is on one hand, so it's like a contradiction, right? Yeah. But also having and keeping the right focus and being able to play chess on different boards. One of the elements is, of course, the technology. Having a good focus on that and bringing that to life.
Do you need IP as well?
Now, do you need IP?
Well, IP and software is a bit hard, but yes, we have. Taken
okay.
Okay.
Yeah, cool. I think that's
you need to do so.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
And and from that perspective, it's about in that sense, finding the balance, keeping track, but also scaling as fast as possible.
Yeah. And as a company, you've told me you have to make strategic choices at a high level when you want to become exponential. Yeah. And you have 6 pieces of advice for managing directors and innovation managers.
Yeah, but because I think one thing is starting up a business, a grassroots as exponential in one thing, but also another thing would be wanting to start out a business like this in an existing company. Yeah. Or wanting to start as Yves started. So I would give 6 pieces of advice. So the first one is really to think exponential. Think big, even bigger, and then biggest. I think that's the first one, and that mindset needs to be there. Yeah. With you.
It's not a typically Dutch mindset, though.
Exactly. So you see in that sense also the examples we named are a lot from Silicon Valley from that perspective. So dare to do that, and it's your own mindset, but especially when you're living in bigger corporates, it should also be the mindset of the exco. Also supporting that part, because that's very important. So that's the first one. The second one is focus on the big problems in the world. So I talked about the singularity parts. Look into those in depth. Where is the energy of your company and where you can go, and then pick one and deep dive on that specific one. So that's the second one. The third one is really on digitizing the value creation that you do as a company. If you cannot ship it really fast, you cannot grow exponential. So you really have to look into the assets and how to do that, how to digitalize. So the next one is really about developing algorithm. So everything that you can automate it, because then it's also enables you to go faster. Yeah. And then I think one of the most important ones is the fifth one is, like you've thought out, is find unusual partners, because the problem you're after is so big that you go into your own partners that you are already working with. You will go in the same circle and you will get a similar solution. So you really have to find new partners to go after those big problems.
Before you go to the 6th one, what's your unusual partner?
Well, I was thinking about what you said. Basically, we're going to try and be some kind of influencer.
Yeah.
Try to empower the others to become an influencer. Well, do the storytelling and try to have the story going on. But I also want to say, what you say is totally true. But you also need to link to the bigger picture. Keep it so stupid and simple. Yeah. People need to be able to follow what you're doing. Yeah. Otherwise, it's something big. It's not for me.
No, that's exactly the last point.
Sorry, I haven't seen your minutes.
But it's about the community of fans. Yeah. You need to be able to tell your story crisp, clear, so that people can connect to it and go stand behind the problem that you want to solve and be part of the movement that you're creating. But for that, it needs to be very simple and very clear what you're after.
Recognizable.
Yeah. So that would be my 6.
All right.
6 points go after.
Thank you very much. We have another question from Rule. Rule wants to know, why use the blockchain? The app could also run against central server.
Yeah, of course. There's this lack of trust, most likely, between supply chain parties.
I see.
And having said that, it's We ourselves don't see the data as well. We foresee in the platform what's the supply chain partners who create the shipments and maintain the shipments themselves.
Yeah, because that's one of the most difficult things for parties, of course, to join. They have to trust the system.
Yes,
yeah.
But then again, it's an additional system based on their existing ERP systems. It doesn't have to replace their existing ERP.
All right.
The ERP can communicate with the platform, as well as on the other side.
Yeah. So guys, I would say it's time for a final wrap up. One more thing you like to say to the viewers? Maybe some advice, some homework, Yves?
Well, if you're thinking of doing some exponential business, just don't think, just start.
Yeah.
The minute you think, you're a minute too slow.
That's a good advice.
Yeah, and add to it, be very bold and brave, be even bolder that you would like to be, or in person, and be very brave in then stepping up.
Yeah, if you believe in what you do, you will make it a success anyway. Just go for it.
Very nice. Thank you very much, Yves Dubois, the co-founder of RTI Blockchain, and of course Michiel Hogeboom, business designer over here at Business Models Inc. My name is John van Schagen. Well, thank you for joining us, and really hope to see you again for the next BMI Inspires. Ciao.